I'm here. I was just talking with Gonzalo. He had to leave. He had to go pick his son up. So I couldn't do an interview with him on camera. But stick around for this video. It's going to be good. I'm going to do a whole install on these bump outs. You guys are going to dig it. So he walked me through his process. We talked about it. I think we gave each other a couple tips here. And I want to give you guys a little bit of history of the company here, and it'll be fun. And by the way, it is pronounced Fiberine. Stick around. It's only going to get better. Morning. It's tomorrow. I'm on my way to the shop. I want to put these bump outs in today. So we'll see how this goes. There's already a problem. So yesterday when I was over there talking to Gonzalo, when I opened the slider, I was like, I don't see how that, based on the dimensions that were mentioned in the other video, which I'll link in my description. And I'm sorry, I forgot the guy's name already. Texas something. Great guy. He sent me some cigars in the past. The story is he brought his Astro van over to Fiberine, and they used his van to design and make these bump outs. And when you watch that video, you're going to see the sliding door open, and there's like less than 1/4 of an inch of gap between the bump out and the inside of the slider. And I did a bunch of screenshots on the computer with that. That was a very quick video, and there's a lot of like blending of scenes. And like one of the main pictures that you got to look at, you have to like stop it. You can see 2 of the images there. But what you'll notice is that that guy's van, he doesn't have the interior plastic trim on the slider. That's a problem. As soon as I get to the shop, I gotta call Gonzalo and tell him, because he's been mailing these kits out, and if you bought one already, you're gonna have a problem making your slider get past that bump out on the passenger side with the factory interior plastic trim in place. Now, I think he's gonna have to redesign it to do it. So this is a good warning for you guys to slow it down on ordering them, at least for the moment. I'm gonna get, there's gonna be more talking on this video in a few minutes. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just pointing that out there right now. This is an observation I made. Now with my van, doesn't matter. You can cut, I think, I'll be able to cut the trim above the panel where it mounts to the lower part of the door and just remove the trim around the window area, which doesn't look good. But on my van, I don't care, because I can figure that out. I can come up with something else, paint, glue some fabric on there like I plan on doing with the rest of the interior. Also, there is a thing. Now, I don't know if it's a bracket you can buy. I haven't yet looked into purchasing the hardware I need, but apparently there is an extender for your slider, or a way to do it anyhow, that people have figured out, because a lot of people modify the Astro van. They put tires on that are so wide that the side door, the slider, won't open because it'll bind on the tire. So people have figured that one out. Now that could be the solution for the bump outs as they exist currently. So, you know, when I first talked with Gonzalo about these bump outs, I was expressing how I would have done it, because I would have made them a little bit tighter at the front parts, and then as they go back towards the rear of the vehicle, I would have made them a little wider. Doesn't mean they would have stuck out past your mirrors or anything anymore. It's just that the rear end of the Astro van tapers, so you are able theoretically to have a little bit more room towards the rear end of the vehicle for inside space with the bump out. So maybe that's something we can work on too. But I'll be back to you momentarily. You're going to see me put these in, and all right, these are the Fiberine bump outs, and like I said, we got a little bit of a problem with them. I just did some screen grabs of the video that Lone Star Rider did. You can find him on YouTube, Lone Star Rider, or at Texas Lone Star Rider. If I haven't already showed you the screenshots of his YouTube channel, there'll be a link in the description below, but I also got screen grabs of the imagery from the video where you see on the side door that his trim doesn't exist. So when Gonzalo made this bump out here, this is the passenger side, this is the driver's side. You see the driver's side is deeper. I want to give you some dimensions right now. You'll see that on the video. So as these work right now, I don't think they'll work if you have your trim on the inside of your slider, which most of you do. I just called him about it. He's going to be emailing the 20 people or so that have already ordered these. Now the kit comes with these, and then it comes with 1 or 2 tubes of the CRL silicone sealant. This is what Gonzalo prefers. And I think he probably also includes these 3/4 inch self-tapping screws. So I'll get you a close shot of this on the interiors in a moment. Let's just give you what these dimensions look like. On the back side of the passenger bump out, as they are right now, I think they're going to have to get redesigned. We have approximately 3 7/8 of an inch. It's exactly the same on both of these ends. Now, this was built off the window glass, so if you look, you should be able to see it on video. You should see a curve right here. So it's curved here, it's curved along the long edge here, on all 4 edges. It exactly fits just as the glass would fit inside the body of the vehicle. You can see the inside, there's an inner flange. When this is put up, this is going to be hard for me to figure out today because I'm working alone. But if you were to hold this in place, there's a little dent in that. You might want to draw a Sharpie around the flange on the inside of your van and then trim that back. I may place these and then try to trim it inside the van after the fact. I haven't gotten that far yet, as you can see. I have one little imperfection I didn't see yesterday. It's not the end of the world, but there's a little divot right there. You guys might be able to see that on camera. I don't know what it's focusing on. Leading edge of the bump outs, angled for airflow, which makes sense. All right. I don't have to give you the dimensions on this because it's exactly the same size as the glass. You'll see that as we install it. But your interior depth on this, now this would be to the outside of this flange, which is the inside of the flange, yeah, that your glass is glued to. So we've got just about 3 inches. That's the front edge. So on the front edge, we've got approximately 3 inches of interior depth. That's after the chamfer. On the rear end, we've got on the top, I believe that's the top. Nope, that's the bottom. On the bottom, we've got about 3 1/4 inches of interior depth. And at the top, we've got 3 3/8 of an inch of depth. This is the passenger side. This is the most important one. Now on the, we'll measure the depth of the mirrors when they're folded too, because that's important for me. Let me also measure the front edge of this for you, just so you know. Let's get a straight edge here, something that's relatively straight, so we can get an accurate measurement here. So we're at the leading edge just after the chamfer, right? Again, this is the passenger side. This is 3 1/2 inches. It protrudes 3 1/2 inches. That was the bottom. And on the top, forgive me, let's just get it this way here. We're at just over 3 1/4 inches at the top edge. That makes sense because the door does curve in at the top. Let's stay focused on this, and let me take you over to the sliding door so I can explain to you what's going on with this. I got to do this quick because I got to get this whole thing done today. Okay, the sun's a little hot here, so apologies, but you can see here, compared to the video that you probably just watched, he doesn't have this piece of trim right here. Okay, and if I'm measuring this out off the glass, keeping in mind the glass is pretty thick, Right? The glass is pretty thick. The glass sits inside. Let's do this on the shady side. So the glass itself, it looks to me like it's over 1/8 of an inch thick. And then you can see that it sits inside. Right? This bevels in, it contours in, there's a flange in there. And then it's kind of floating, right? Because there's silicone in there that it's kind of sitting on. And there's even little pads here. So the distance from this glass to the actual flange that the glass is glued to, right, that these will sit on, it's a pretty good distance. It might be a 1/2 inch. I don't know what that is, but we're going to find out, and I'm going to tell you that in this video. But as I pointed out, Lone Star Rider does not have his interior trim on his door. That plastic, that gray plastic trim that you should be able to clearly see here. That's a problem. So for me, knowing that that's a problem, my plan is going to be to cut this. I'm going to cut this kind of straight across on both sides. I'm going to remove this whole upper piece of plastic around this glass. And it's not going to look good. But that's okay for me because I had planned on taking this whole door card off. Let me widen you out here. Of this door because there's hollow space in here, and I believe that I might be able to make my own internal panel for this. Now if I can't, what I'll do is I'll put this lower part back on, but I still suspect I may be able to cut into this and create a cubby down here for some storage. That's what I think, and I would like to do that. I'd also like to be able to get on the inside of the sheet metal and stick on something like Dynamat or something like that, that maybe give me a little bit of insulation and sound protection and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm just pointing this out to you because I just got off the phone with Gonzalo and I told him, I'm like, I don't think it's going to work with this plastic, but we'll find out. By the end of this video, we're going to know for sure. Let me show you what this looks like up close. Again, here is the silicone that he prefers. I'm certain that those screws are going to pop out a little bit on the inside of the flange, and if that's the case, I might get in there with a grinding wheel and then try to cut them off. This is the inside. And it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick. You know, I wish I could tell you how thick that is. But he, you know, Gonzalo, this is what he does. He makes the high tops. You know, again, this is fiberine, and they know what they're doing. So it's a quality product. So we're just doing the R&D for him right now. Stay tuned. Let me give you the dimensions on the driver's side one real quick, and then I got to get to work. Okay. So this is the top back side of the driver's side of this bump out here, and we've got just over, it's 4 9/16 of an inch, again, from where it's going to hit the flange to the outside of this here. That's at the top. At the bottom, 4 1/2 inches, so we're pretty close. This is the leading edge, right? This is the front edge, this is the bottom, that's the top. You see the chamfer here, you should be able to see that on camera. That's designed to deflect the wind a little bit. Good idea. Yeah, 4 9/16 of an inch. And on this side here, oh, that's interesting. Well, that's right, 4 9/16 of an inch. I thought it was going to be 4 5/8. So this side is pretty good, 4 5/16. Excuse me, 9/16. 9/16 is just, it's 1/16 of an inch over a half. So pretty good. Let's look at the interior space. There's some little, I'd say a little imperfection here on the, little bit on the finish with the molding, a little scratch and whatnot. I'm not nitpicking, I'm just saying. A lot of you guys are going to want to tune these a little bit maybe and paint them to match your vehicle. My thing with my vehicle, I've got a little body damage. I don't care about it. I'm doing all the stuff I'm doing, and then eventually I'm either going to do a DIY Durabec with a roller, like where you paint this rubberized paint on the whole thing, or maybe I'll get lucky and somebody will sponsor the channel or something to do like a rhino liner on the Astro Van, because I can't afford that. Interior depth here, just about 4.5 inches. 4 inches on the back side. That is interesting. I've got 4 inches, 4 1/8 at the back on the lower end. On the top end, I've got 4.5. On the leading edge, I've got 4.5 and 4.5. So that's interesting. I don't, Gonzalo, you're watching this. I don't think it should be like that. If anything, this should be whatever it is, and then the back end could be bigger. It's weird that it's deeper at the top than it is at the bottom. Now, I was talking to Gonzalo about this, and also I can see here, this is not it doesn't have a nice sweeping curve here. It goes straight, but then this has a divot in it right here. That's going to be a problem for sealing. So I'll make sure I add a little extra caulk on that. I assume that would be curved, but I guess it looks pretty flat here. This does the same thing. So this is coming, it's actually bumped out right here. So when I place this, I'll hold it on there with the camera. I suspect this is going to rock a little bit on that flange. That's a little quality control here. So this is doing this. It's high here, and then it dips back down there. It's doing this, which is the opposite of what I think it should do. I think the whole thing should have if any curve at all, should be in. So hopefully that's not too big of a problem when I go to put that on. This is what I do, people. I eyeball and everything before I even get started, but that could be a problem. This one isn't as bad, but it's doing the same thing. It has a high point dead in the center here. And then, yeah, this is doing another weird thing. This is not a straight. Now look, when I say straight, it doesn't have to be a straight line. It should have a bit of a curve or be straight. But both of these are doing the exact opposite of what I think they should do. Because this one it's coming in, then it's coming out, then it's going back in real deep here, and then out again. So this should be a sweeping, flush, straight line. That could be a problem. I think we'll talk about it when we go to put it. Okay, so a lot of you are going to have to take down your headliner, because the headliner comes down on top of the glass, and you need to get in here to cut the caulking away to remove the glass. All right, so you're going to need a T25 bit. And we'll just go ahead and throw that in the screw gun here. I'm using my mini toolkit that I keep in the van, which I do a lot of stuff with it. So these hooks have bolts in them that have a T25 head on them, and that's what's holding your headliner in right here. So for me, I only have part of my headliner, as you guys know. Okay, now there are 4 bolts across the back here. I'm using a 7mm socket for this. Not lose them. I'm electing to leave this cushion in here with the Fernie blanket. Look at the dust. Because I can lay up there to do this job. It'll be more comfortable. It's right there. Don't let me forget that. Okay. We'll drop this. There's a clip here, so I can undo the light. Let's just take this off completely for a moment. Let me eyeball this here. Okay, I see. There we go. Now there's clips for the speakers. I'm still using these factory speakers. Well, I'll get to that. You guys don't have that problem. That's my problem. Another thing I just want to point out to you, when you take your headliner down, it's going to be different depending on which van you have, but you're going to have to trim this. Most likely, no, you should be okay. You should be okay with that. Anyhow, this is my piece here. This is not what your van looks like. Mine's all custom. I got the speakers in there, and that's all going to change. I also want to show you, though, look at the amount of room that you have in here, you know, for possible storage in there. So that's why I'm going to be making my own wooden box, basically, to replace what I just took down eventually. Another video. All right. So it takes 10 to 15 minutes of cutting that out. These two upper corners were kind of difficult. You'll see here I put some blue painter's tape on the outside to keep the glass from falling out because I'm working alone. Let's see if we can get this off of here without breaking it now. Now, I was going to talk, but I guess I shouldn't. So here's that. When you're cutting it, like for me, I was laying up in here. When I sliced it, I could see light coming through. That's how I knew I got through it. So now you know that's a safer way to do it, and I'll clean up the back side of this glass. I might have to put this back on there if this doesn't work for me. One of the things I noticed when I was in here laying down looking up is that this flange that the glass is in is doing this. It's not perfectly straight. I'm going to want to eyeball that and hammer it a little bit, but what I'm getting at is I think it's possible that that's the cause of the reason why the flange on the bump outs isn't a perfect, nice, I keep saying straight, we know it would be curved, but you know what I'm getting at. It shouldn't be doing this. But if they molded it to this flange that's here on the van, that's why. Like if it was me and I was doing this, I would eyeball this and I would hammer it and I would try to make it, I don't want it doing this, I'd want it to just do this. So I'd probably take a pair of pliers or a crescent wrench, or they got body tools like that that clamp on and you can bend it. And I'd probably try to get that more correct before I made the mold for this. Now, he made his off the glass, though. That's what he told me. That's what you want to do. So it shouldn't have been off the flange. At any rate, it's clear to me that this part, the factory didn't even care about. If it's a little wonky, it doesn't matter because you can see how much of this stuff they put in here. And I'm just slicing it with this. And I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to try to get it all off completely. I think if I leave that right there, it's not going to matter. It's not to the finger. You barely feel it. And all the caulking I'm going to be putting on here should take care of that gap, just like the factory did it. Okay, so the way the factory did this was they've got 4 points of contact here, 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 and here that are rubber bumpers that they installed with their silicone, for lack of a better word, whatever this black stuff is that they use through to here the window. So it seems to me what they were doing is they were trying to keep a gap between the glass itself and the metal. It wasn't just about sealing water out, right? Because they could have just, let's call it RTV. They could have RTV'd this, put the glass in, but for some reason they didn't want that glass being crushed. They wanted a gap where it was filled by the RTV, keeping the glass padded off of the metal. And maybe that's for shock resistance so the glass doesn't crack. That's what I'm imagining here. That makes sense to me. Now, because this is fiberglass, we're not going to worry about that. But I know some of you guys here, a lot of you, let's face it, most of you are smarter than I am. You know, even better looking. At least one of you guys is better looking. So, and you know I'm kidding, because I think I look like basically a, you know, full-size garden gnome, let's face it. And, but, you know, we're going to put this up. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and see what this fits like right here in real time. stay there. I'm going to stop the camera here. Yeah, look at that, it fits in there. Now here's the thing, it's definitely a little smaller than the opening. And you can see it's doing this. See how that's rocking on there? That bothers me a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the high points are. And then I'm going to get a large crescent wrench. And I'm going to attempt to bend in the flange where I think the high points are. And then I'm going to refit this again. I'm going to keep doing that until I can sit this on here without the caulk and have it not rock. Because right now that's got a lot of rock to it. Because I don't want, like right now I feel like I could probably get it in there and put the goop on and put some spring clamps and put the screws in, it'll flex it in. But I'd like to have it to the point where it's not wanting to naturally pull itself away from the vehicle because it's gapped right now because of this rocking. So again, I'm just showing you all this so you know you guys are going to end up going through the same. So as I mentioned, that thing kind of dips in. So it's rocking on these center points. So I'm basically just going to bend this flange in here a little bit at the center and see if that gives me enough room to have it connect on the four corners a little bit better so it doesn't rock. I'll be putting enough goop in here to seal all of this, so we should be fine. Oh yeah. That pretty much did it. I mean, that's way closer than what it was. I'm okay with that. That's enough. There's hardly any rocking going on at all now. So I'm ready to glue it in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to put tape up there and pull it over the top. You know what's funny? Oh, that's okay. Wants to rock this way. Okay, so we'll take one of those corners down a little bit more. I'll eyeball decide which one. The hard part for me, and it's a little bit of a trust issue. I got trust issues. It's almost like the van is a woman. So, because I want to put the tape on and then I want to put clamps on the inside and then trace that line of the flange, and it's probably smarter to cut this before it's glued in place. Then again, I'm not sure about that because it moves around enough. There's enough play where you might not get it exactly perfect. But we're getting closer. You guys need to see this because you're going to be going through the same thing. All right. I don't think I have enough of this blue tape to do things exactly the way I want to do everything. Now I want to run in there as fast as I can. I don't really trust this. I don't trust this at all. This is where having another person here would be helpful. Damn. clean that off enough, but let's try this. Again, all this is a set of hands for me. And you see this is dropping here? I don't like that. Let's wedge a piece of this rubber in here. That's a little helpful. Just showing you now the difference in the gap that we have right here. It's kind of hard with the shadows. I realize that. The sun's coming around. So maybe, and also you can see here that this is, it just doesn't look correct to me. You see, this basically is doing this. It's got an arc to the bottom where the bottom should be a straight line, and so you can see what's going on here. Now on the inside, this is all temporary. I'm just trying to figure this out before I do anything else. I basically just put these 4 clamps on here, and let's get up in here. Wait. So you can see how much of this flange is here, and you can see right here I've got a lot of it. I mean, I don't know how this is designed to work. It seems like those sheet metal screws that he gave me. I'm going to draw a line on this flange and then with a Sharpie and then see where it's at inside the shop. I'll put it on a table. You can see there's a gap here, so I can bend that back out a little bit more right here. You see it's tight over here. You see the light coming through here. So I'll mark this with a pencil right here to here. So I know I want to bend this flange back that way a little bit. Rest of this isn't too bad. Let me draw a Sharpie line on that and see where we're at. And then remove material more evenly, meaning I'll go off the line where I need to so it's more even all the way around. And then when I goop it in place and stick it in here and I use the clamps, I'll manipulate it to the cut I make, which will be more accurate than the line I make. That should be more understandable as I do it. Because I can't really put it in the perfect spot like I'd like to because it's not molded exactly as good as it could be. By the way, again, Gonzalo, if you're watching this, not picking on you at all. This is still awesome. Very, very, very happy with this. So this is all about kind of helping those of you who are buying this kit who are going to install it yourself. That's what this is about. All right, so there's definitely more area than I thought, right? It just looked worse because I could see so much light coming through, and the flange was sticking up so much higher inside the van. But you can see there's almost an inch here. Let's show you exactly. How's that sound? Yeah, like I said, almost an inch. We got 3/4 over here. Of course, over here we're at a 1/2 inch. I'm just letting you know, 3/4 of an inch. So it's a little goofy all the way around. Getting this exactly perfect if you're working by yourself, 3/4 of an inch. You know, that's going to be hard for me to get it exact everywhere, but it'll be good enough, you know. Let me show you what this line looks like here. You see that? See how that kind of bumps in and it's kind of wavy? So that would be something, Gonzalo, I would say, you know, we want to work on that. I know you said you built it off the glass, but somehow in the molding process, it gets off the glass mold. and it's no longer, like if it's off the glass, that should be a perfectly smooth transition. It should be a perfectly smooth, I keep saying straight line. We know it's curved, but you know what I'm saying. It shouldn't do this at all. It should be nice and easy, not this. So that's something we got to work on with the mold. I'm going to find something to trim this with. I'm not sure what I want to use. Maybe the jigsaw with a metal cutting blade. The grinder would make real quick work of it with a cutoff wheel. Maybe I'll do that for the straight lines. I don't know. Let me figure it out and I'll let you know how it works. Maybe I'll show you a snapshot or something. It's already 20 after 12, and I think that between filming this and everything else, I did have a couple short phone calls. I've probably been doing this for 2 hours already. So if you're doing this by yourself, by now you can already have this in. I think this whole project alone will take you 3 hours. So hang on. You get the idea. All right. Nice. One of the things you're going to avoid is right here. When I was cutting the gasket free, the glass free, my razor knife scratched the paint out here. You see that? So be careful with that when you're using your razor knife. That's the only spot, it looks like, where I did that. A little bit here, but that's deep enough. I mean, like far in from the curve here. Yeah, right here. It's right on that edge right there. So just be careful. Just be mindful of that. I just vacuumed this out. I'm going to test it on the flange because I bent that flange out like I said I was going to. And if it works out okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the, the thing is I don't have enough of this blue tape. And I don't feel like going somewhere to get more of it. But I probably should borrow their car and go get some more, unless there's some more in the house or some more I could find here. Because like I said, I'd like to tape out around that whole edge so when I goop it in, I can then run my finger along it and then peel the tape and get a nice clean line. I'll think about that. I'm putting a lot on here, so I'm probably going to get a lot of squeeze out. I didn't put tape across the top on the body, so we're just gonna, we're learning as we go here. I know what I should be doing, but I'm already getting a little bit frustrated, I suppose, with how long it's taken. Trying to get a nice fat bead on here. We want the squeeze out. You can always clean that up later. The most important thing is getting this seal, you know? That is the most important thing. That's not gonna work. All right. Okay, I don't think it's going to fall out now. I think we're pretty safe. Be careful with the caulk on the inside here. I'm going to wipe a little bit of that off. And then I'm going to pre-drill around this and put some of those self-tappers in. And I'm going to be very diligent about being pretty close to the edge on this because this lip isn't a lot around this. One of the things I forgot to do for you was internal measurements with the glass on before I put these on. So you guys will see that. I'll give you that by the end of the video. I know a bunch of you are probably already yelling at the screen going, you didn't tell us what the dimension was first. I can still do that for you. That's not a problem. So it's 10 minutes to 1. So it's always a good idea to, even though you're using self-tappers, to pre-drill a little bit first and then come in after with the screw. It'll just be easier so you're not forcing things. Now, it's weird. He's got this upward angle on this too here. I didn't expect all of that. When you're drilling, you use the high speed, and when you're putting a screw, you use the low speed. Yeah, we're going to have to come in and cut these after the fact. That's good. So I'll put a few of these in across here. I'll probably put 1, 2, 3. I'll put 4 or 5 across the top. Probably 2 on the end here, 2 here, and then 4 or 5 across the bottom. You guys don't need to watch all of that. You only need to see me do one to know what I got to do. All right, so Gonzalo, these are notes for you, okay? Just looking at this, what doesn't make sense to me, what I kind of don't like, is that the bottom goes up on, ramps up like that, and the top also does that. In my mind, this bottom shouldn't go on an angle up, it should be going straight across level. And the top edge should be beveled down. See this here? You should be able to see why, right? Because now when it rains, all that water, now I know I'm sealed real well here, and I'm going to tape this out, and I'm going to use that extra tube of caulking, and I'm going to run a bead in there. I'm going to run it in with my finger, and I'm going to peel the tape, like I keep saying. It's going to be nice and clean. But that is not the smartest way to do that, I don't think. Because again, if it's just sitting here parked, and water's hitting this, it's going to hit this and run down this way. Now, it's also kind of flat here. If it was curved more, it wouldn't bother me as much because I know the water would run off of it. But if I was doing this myself, if I was designing this, I would have this come here on an angle down. I'd clip this corner off right here. I'd have that come down, and then here I would have it, instead of doing this upward, which it's not the end of the world, this upward angle here. But I think because inside the van, I'd rather see that come out, you know, straight. You know, level like this instead of doing what it's doing now, right? Because, you know, you don't want to put a mattress on top of that, like a little 1 inch maybe in there. Your head's going in there. At least that's what I'm thinking. I could be totally wrong. Excuse me, about the bottom edge, but the top 100%, I would rather see that angle down. But overall, pretty good. That I'll tell you guys, the silicone dries very fast. I thought I could scrape it off from the bottom and apply it a little bit to the top on the inside, but it was already setting up. So, yeah, kind of a no-go on that. I'm very happy, though. And the reason I'm pointing all this out is I think, as I said earlier, Gonzalo might have to redesign this one. And if he does it, I want him to see all these notes. Hey, what's up, Gonzalo? Because if you're going to have to redo that one, maybe we should redo both of them and change that upward angle so it's diverted away from the vehicle. Just a thought. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, I'm not right about everything. But I'm just saying, right now, this is like your first set that are out there. They're perfectly fine. I'm sure they're going to be fine. As long as anybody seals that well, what I'm pointing out doesn't matter. This is me. You know, you guys know I design and build custom furniture for a living. This is what I do. So I see this, and that's what I see in my mind. I'm like, okay, it should be like this, it should be like that, and all that. The other thing I mentioned to Gonzalo the other day, and maybe somebody will make something for this, is it'd be really cool if we could have a piece of metal with this contour on it, that we could maybe use some double stick tape or screw it on to protect the front edge of this as you're, you know, going through the brush. You know, so like if you hit a branch or something, it hits some piece of metal instead of wanting to crack the fiberglass. I don't think it will. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying I go off-road, and it's just a thought. Again, I'm not saying I'm right about that. It's just a thought I'm having. Also, we'll take a look at this. And I did measure this. I put the level on here. So this definitely protrudes more off the body here than that does down there. It's just hard for me to see. I'm kind of eyeballing this here with you. Like if I'm trying to judge if the van is much narrower up here, I know that it gets wider here, and then it starts tapering again back down here as we come across. The van is shaped like this. That's why this thing here sticks out so far. Now this was a good idea initially, because if I go off camber and there's a tree I come up against, I'd hit that instead of the body of the vehicle. But now I'm going to hit this here. So that's something for me to consider now, is should I make that extend, you know, to protect this and have that come out more? Just a thought. Right? These are all, like, I can't stop thinking. I can't turn it off. It's getting late. It's 1:15. I got to cut this other one free and get it glued in. I got to get that in today. Give you guys a look, see what it looks like when it's all in there. And then, like we said, 100% positive here that I'm going to have to cut that trim off of there. So I'm going to get a measurement. Got to turn that music off. I just wanted to point out, I just laid in there. If you don't care about symmetry, you could do the bump out on the one side. If you're my height, again, I'm 5'9". So 5'9" right now, I just laid up on there. I still had over an inch to my head, and my feet, with my feet up, were not touching the glass. So if you wanted to put one side on, you could try that out too. I'm going to go ahead and keep working. I'm going to cut this glass free now. All right, so now you're going to see that this starts rubbing right away. Right here, it's just too tight here at the bottom. Top looks like I'll have enough room. So I've got to trim this plastic. I'm going to go ahead and trace that right now with a Sharpie. We might get lucky. I might just have to do a little notch in it. And if that's all it takes, then you guys will know, right? You're welcome. All right, let's see here. Let's see if we can make that work. This is about as far as you can get the door open right now. I'm going to use this grinder with a cutoff wheel, which is probably not the best tool to use. It is not the best tool to use. The right thing to do would be to pull this off. You know what? You guys are just watching me do this, so. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned earlier in the video, I thought I might have to remove the trim. And what I did was, I just went ahead and, there's a piece of it here. I cut right here. And I'll file that, make it look a little bit better. So I just removed the trim that goes around the top. Let me get inside the van here. Okay. So I cut it here. I cut it there. And that's it, you know. And now this will open. So here's our space. Let's how do I do this with you guys here? So we can open this drawer. All right, so you see the space now. Now, glass to glass before, up here, was approximately 70 inches. Was approximately what the width was with the glass in place. Now, with the bump outs at this front edge, we're at 76 3/4. All right. So that's 6 feet 4.5 inches right here. That is a big deal. Now at the back end, originally we were at about 67 1/4 inches, and now with the bump out, we're at 6 feet 3 inches approximately. So this is fantastic. This is great. My feet aren't touching down there. And I've still got right here, I've got 2.5 inches to my head here. So this is perfect. Like, I could have somebody else next to me now and we could be comfortable without having to try to be in some crazy, you know, you used to have to do this like fetal spoon position if you had somebody else in the van with you before, which does not happen often enough. I'm just saying, does not happen often enough. Maybe it'll happen more often. Maybe we can get Sarah to pose with me in here. We'll have to raffle off a night in the Astro van with Mike Z. You know, female participants only. You know, and if you're married, you have to get written permission from your husband, is all I'm saying. Let's turn that power station off. So, pretty good, man. Pretty stinking good. Now, whoopsie. Just knock the mic off here. The video is not over. Video's not over. The next step, I got to clean up, and then we got to drive this thing down my driveway. It should not hit anything. If it hits something, I'm screwed. That's why I saved the glass. But we should be good. So let me clean up. I'll give you guys a talk up on the way home. And I'm just looking at stuff here. You know, every once in a while you got to go in here and retighten nuts and bolts and things from the build that you did. So I got to double check some things here. At any rate, just a light, magnet light here. Pretty stoked. By the way, the other thing is, with this, hang on a second. Just unplug the mic altogether. Somebody said to me, aren't you going to miss the light back there? I like the light. You know, this spot over here, I had considered blocking off already. A lot of people block that off. I'll miss this one, right? But having this window here is important when you're driving up here. You look over your shoulder. At least you can see here if you got any blind spots, right? But what I'll do is I'll put a little RV window slider in there. Maybe I could see out that a little bit. I think we're going to be okay as long as I have this here. When I had the cargo van before, I didn't have any glass over there, and it was very dangerous. And I considered finding a door that had the glass in it. But that van got stolen, as we know. So just to sum this up here, if you have your interior trim on your slider, and you have this current set of bump outs that you already bought from Fiberine, this is the mod that you're going to have to do. Or you're going to have to take this all off and figure out something else. I don't think it looks that bad. We can make it look a little bit neater. It could get painted. There's a lot of things I could do. Keep in mind, none of this is finished in here, right? It's just all close. It's not done. Oh, man, that piece shrank already. You got a little bit of a gap up there that I didn't have before. You can barely know. From here, you can't really see it. But right there, you can see up in there a little. That's me pointing out my imperfections. So let's go outside and take a look at this real quick. So the next step, all right, you can see here, little gap. As I said earlier in the video, I'm going to put some tape on here, some blue tape right along here, and then along here. And I'm going to take some more of that caulking, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And it'll get filled in a way where there'll be a little radius here. And it'll all look like it's molded to the body. And then I'll do a real neat job of that, and then I'll peel the tape. So I'll do that in the next couple days probably. We've got to get some shots of this now. Yeah, I can see it's a little off right here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It goes up here. So they just got to work on their molding a little bit is all. You see it got scratched here and at the top a little bit from that interior molding. But not bad. Good job, Gonzalo. I also want to say, and I'm going to say this again probably before the video ends, you know, what I like about this is, and Gonzalo in general, I said this to him when I was at the shop the other day. It's like, dude, you're making people's dreams come true. So, you know, people with vans, you know, we're all weirdos. But being able to have a van that has a high top on it that you can stand in, that's a big deal. Having an Astro van that now you can sleep in across the back. You could be 6 feet now. You could be 6 feet tall, 6'1", and sleep in the back of your Astro van. And I would just say, Gonzalo, you know, I gave a bunch of tips here on the possibility of redesigning these, and I'd consider them if I were you. But for anybody else looking at these right now, and if you want them now, they have this mold right now, and you see what's going on here. I got to clean it up. I see no problems with this, really. So let me get cleaned up, clean all this stuff up here, clean the shop up, put this car back. We'll do a walk around right here in this parking spot. You know, give you some angles of this without this car in my way. So it ain't over. I'll give you a little talk up about how it went down on the way home, and then we'll go down the driveway. Because, boy, I am nervous. I'm really nervous about this whacking something. The thing that it whacks is a neighbor. I like these people. They just have this little shelf that they have stuff on. It doesn't belong there. You know, they put it there. And if I got to ask them to move it or make it a little bit narrower, then they're going to just have to do that. And I know them. They're cool. You know what? I think we're going to be golden. Look, 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 look. We're going to be golden, I think. Because I think, like, this never hits. And it looks to me like, I don't know if that really comes out further than that. So, cross your fingers. The video ain't over yet. It's a long one, huh? Sorry. Alright, just took a couple pictures of myself with the van. Give you a parting shot here. Just wanted to point out that this guy right here, Lone Star Rider, that's at Lone Star Rider on YouTube. He's the man. Alright, so he's the guy that first went over there to Fiberine and had Gonzalo make these bump outs for him. And so you guys know the whole story now. And Gonzalo, I'm so happy, very, very pleased. I've mentioned a few things about design and a few changes that I think are probably appropriate, but none of that's a dig. You know, right now is R&D, you know. I'll tell you right now, and this is not me just blowing smoke up my own butt here. Every company that makes stuff should hire me, honestly. I mean, Track Motive has trusted me to give them my input on the axles that they made for this van. I've got the only Astro van on the planet that has extendable, heavy-duty Track Motive CV axles. I'm one of the few vans right now that has these fiberglass bump outs. I've already told you what I thought about the design on them. It could just be tweaked a hair. But I tend to see things that a lot of people don't see. And sometimes people are just too close to their own projects. I know that myself. It's always a good idea to bounce things off of people, mount them, use them, and refine the design. I've been doing what I do long enough to where I don't really have bad ideas because I know how to build things, so any idea I have is already doable. I don't think of things that can't be done. And I know how to make things function right and look cool. These look pretty cool, if you ask me. I'm pretty happy with this, and I think it looks good on there. Of course, being white with the white van is perfect. Once I get the caulking finished around these things, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to have Dave make me a Fiberine sticker. So we'll put the website right across here, www.fiberine. And this way people won't have to ask me. Just want to give you a full 360 on this of how they look. I don't think they're overly obtrusive at all. I like them. And as I was saying, well, you can see now this opens, by the way. And as I said, the darkness back here is good. Now, look, I will do. There's gonna be plenty of videos coming up where I'm gonna hunt down. Probably exists. I'm assuming. I think I could probably find, 100% wool, 1/4-inch felt is what I'm going to look for to spray glue and stick to the inside of these. It'll add a little insulation. It's wool, so it won't catch on fire or anything. I could probably get it in all kinds of colors, and that'll look real good. And then I'll get some of that molding, something like this here that just sticks over the edge of a pinch weld, and I'll put that around there for now. And then, like I said, I'm going to have spray glue fabric on all the metal in here. And maybe then I'll do the pinch weld trim after that to help hold it in place. And this is coming along. You can see I'm below this. And, I don't know that you got to go crazy trying to make the mattress even with that, personally. But I might give that a shot. I know I've talked about that already. You can't hold me to everything I say in these videos because I'm just winging it, man, and I'm thinking about it at that moment in time. And as I tell you guys all the time, everything I think is subject to change because I'll have a new idea tomorrow. Let's drive home. Let's drive down the driveway, and then I'll sign off. Wanted to also point out I got real lucky when I was doing the passenger side. My buddy Anthony, who lives next door, this guy's, I've mentioned him before, I think he's like 86 years old. He goes out with women in their 40s. Pure blood, Italian car guy. Real good sense of style. He's got a bunch of old cars. I started talking to him across the fence there, and he came over and helped me. So he was able to hold the unit in place while I traced it, and I cut the flange, and then he held it in place for me while I bent the flange right. And when I caulked it, he held it in place for me while I drilled the holes and put the screws in. So he probably saved me a good 25 minutes, which was awesome. All right, I'm about to turn up my driveway here. God, these cars park so close to me getting in here, man. Los Angeles kind of really stinks sometimes. Gee whiz. Here, I'll give you guys a shot of what it looks like going down this driveway. The mirror hits if I don't fold it in, but the bump outs did not hit anything. And if it did hit anything on that side, it won't hit on the other side. So I'm very, very pleased with that. So, okay, parking's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. You know, not having that glass back there is a thing, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, I've still got the side in the middle. That's the main thing. So cost, let's talk cost on this. I'm not 100% sure, but I talked to Gonzalo about it yesterday. They are roughly $1,100 to $1,200, I think, and then there's shipping, which is anywhere from $200 to $300. I mean, these are large items. They've got a little weight to them. It comes with the silicone. It comes with screws, and so I mean, I think you should plan on $1,500 if you're having them shipped. And I think I did a decent job of showing you how to put them on, at least how I did it. And for those of you who already own them, you already bought them from Fiberine, you saw what I went through. It's no big deal. You may or may not be okay with that. So that's the thing. You know, Gonzalo is an awesome dude. He will make that right. I'll be giving him a call right now. I got a call. He gave me his cell number, and I wrote it down on something at the shop, and I forgot to put it in the phone. So I'm going to try to catch them now before they close. See if I can talk to him, or at least get his number from his secretary there. Tell him how it went, and then I've got to edit all this stuff together on the phone and get this out to you right now. Today is, well, it's 4:15, and I can't even tell you what the date is because the hand is blocking the date on the phone. I think it's the 10th or the 11th. It's Friday, April. So you guys tell me. It's the 11th. Anyhow, I hope you guys got a kick out of this. And who knows? I'll talk to him. Like I said, I hope we can work on that. I'd like to help him make the product even better, even more perfect for you. And then who knows? Maybe we'll do an Astro Van Tribe discount or something. Don't count on that, but I'll float it with him. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. Be good humans, because when you are, good things happen. I'll catch you in the next one.